The blonde flight attendant's rings cut into my cheek as she slapped me so hard, blood trickled down my face. My baby screamed. She grabbed my hair and dragged me toward the exit. "Trash like you doesn't belong here," she hissed. She had no idea my one phone call would destroy her entire world. What you're about to hear is the most insane story of revenge at 30,000 feet before we take off. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because this story has twists that will make your jaw drop. I promise you've never heard anything like this. Drop a comment if you believe in karma, and let's dive into the craziest flight of my life. My name is Alessia, and I need to tell you about the day I got slapped on an airplane. But this isn't just another viral video story. This is about calculated revenge, hidden identities, and watching someone's entire world crumble because they chose cruelty over kindness. Let me start from the beginning. 3 years ago, I married a man named Adrian Hawthorne. If you've never heard that name, good. That means we've done our job. Adrian is a billionaire. Not the flashy kind you see on Instagram with golden jets and diamond watches. He's the kind who owns things. Big things: airlines, hotels, tech companies. He operates in the shadows, pulling strings most people never see. When we got married, we made a decision nobody would know about us. No social media, no public photos, no fancy parties. Adrian had enemies, competitors who would love nothing more than to find a weakness they could exploit, and I would be that weakness. So we kept our marriage completely private. I kept my maiden name. I drove a 10-year-old Honda. I shopped at regular stores and lived in a modest apartment across town from his penthouse. To the world, I was just Alessia, a normal mom trying to get by. 9 months ago, we had Sophia, a beautiful baby girl with her father's eyes and my stubborn personality. She changed everything for me, made me see the world differently. And that's when Adrian started noticing something disturbing about one of his potential investments, Skyline Airways, a mid-sized airline with a growing reputation for treating passengers like garbage. Adrian was considering buying it, turning it around, making it profitable, but the complaints kept rolling in. Poor people being humiliated by staff, families being kicked off flights for crying babies, people in cheap seats being treated like they were less than human. One night, about 2 weeks ago, I was feeding Sophia when Adrian came home looking troubled. He told me about Skyline Airways and the complaints, and I made him an offer he initially refused. I would go undercover, book the cheapest economy seat on one of their flights, bring Sophia, dress like I had no money, see how they really treated passengers when they thought nobody important was watching. Adrian hated the idea, but I convinced him this was the only way to know the truth. So he agreed, with one condition. I'd carry a hidden camera in my diaper bag. If anything happened, we'd have evidence. 2 days before the flight, I transformed myself. I found the most worn-out yellow jacket in my closet, paired it with faded jeans that had a visible stain on the knee. I didn't wash my hair. No makeup. I looked exhausted, defeated, exactly like a struggling single mom who could barely afford a plane ticket. I booked seat 32B, middle row, economy class, $89, the worst seat on the plane. The morning of the flight, Adrian kissed me and Sophia goodbye at home. He couldn't even come to the airport with us, too risky. Someone might recognize him and the whole operation would be blown. "Call me if anything happens," he said, his jaw tight. "Anything at all." I arrived at the airport looking like a mess. People stared at me in the terminal. I could see the judgment in their eyes. Young mom, crying baby, cheap clothes. They had my entire life story written before I even opened my mouth. Perfect. Boarding flight 4. 27 to Chicago was an experience. I struggled with Sophia in one arm and my overstuffed diaper bag on the other shoulder. The gate agent barely looked at me. "Move along, please. You're holding up the line." Then I stepped onto the plane and met her. Crystal Martinez. She was stunning, I'll give her that. Blonde hair pulled back in a perfect bun, makeup flawless, designer alterations on her uniform that probably cost more than my entire outfit. She stood near the front galley with another flight attendant, and as I walked past, I heard her whisper just loud enough for me to catch it. "Oh, great! Another welfare mom on vacation." Her colleague giggled. I kept walking, heart pounding, Sophia starting to fuss against my chest. The hidden camera in my diaper bag was recording everything. Good. My seat was exactly as terrible as I expected. Middle row, sandwiched between a large man who immediately claimed both armrests and a teenager with headphones who looked at Sophia like she was a bomb about to explode. I tried to squeeze into the seat, and that's when I noticed the backrest was broken. It wouldn't recline at all. Stuck in the full upright position, I pressed the call button. A few minutes later, Crystal appeared, her smile thin and cold. Problem? Hi. Yes, my seat seems to be broken. Is there any chance I could move to a different one? She looked at me like I'd asked for a private jet. You paid $89 for this ticket. What do you expect? First class? Several passengers nearby laughed. Crystal's voice got louder, making sure everyone could hear. Maybe save up next time before flying with a screaming baby. My face burned with humiliation, but I swallowed it down. Okay. Thank you anyway. You're so welcome, she said with mock sweetness, then walked away. The flight took off and Sophia immediately started crying ear pressure I knew. Babies can't pop their ears like adults. I tried giving her a pacifier, tried rocking her, but nothing worked. Her cries got louder and I could feel the annoyance radiating from every passenger around me. 20 minutes into the flight, Sophia had a massive diaper blowout. The smell hit immediately. I quickly gathered my diaper bag and stood up trying to get to the bathroom. There was a line. 4 people waiting. Sophia screaming in my arms, the smell spreading, and I could see people covering their noses, shooting me dirty looks. That's when Crystal appeared like a vengeful angel. Are you kidding me right now? Her voice cut through the entire cabin. You're contaminating the cabin. I'm so sorry, I'm waiting for the bathroom. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. Clean up your disgusting child now. She dragged me toward the bathroom, then shoved me inside so hard I stumbled, nearly dropping Sophia. The door slammed behind me with a bang that made my baby scream even louder. I changed Sophia with shaking hands, tears streaming down my face. But they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of rage, because Crystal had no idea what she'd just done. Every word, every shove, every moment of cruelty was being recorded in high definition. When I came back to my seat, Sophia had finally calmed down a bit. She was still fussy, but quieter. I was soaked with orange juice from earlier. Oh, I didn't mention that. Crystal had accidentally spilled an entire cup of ice-cold juice all over both of us during the beverage service. Oops, maybe you should control your baby better, then accidents wouldn't happen. An hour into the flight, Sophia started showing signs of hunger. I pulled out her bottle from my diaper bag, pre-made formula that I'd brought through security. Crystal was passing by with her cart when she saw it. She stopped, stared at the bottle in my hand, then she snatched it right out of my grip. Excuse me, that's my baby's food. This wasn't approved through security. Her voice was sharp, final. Yes, it was. Baby formula is allowed by TSA regulations. Not on my flight. And right there, in front of everyone, she walked to the front galley and poured Sophia's bottle into the trash. I stood up, my voice breaking. Please, she's hungry. She needs to eat. Crystal turned, her eyes cold as winter. Should have thought of that before having kids you can't afford. Something inside me snapped, but I forced myself to stay calm, to sit back down, to let Sophia cry against my chest while I plotted exactly how I would destroy this woman's entire existence. A different flight attendant appeared beside me. Rachel was her name, I'd later learn. She was young, maybe 25, and her eyes were kind. She quietly slipped me a packet of crackers. For the baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Before I could thank her, Crystal spotted us. Rachel, did you just help that passenger? Rachel's face went pale. I just gave her some crackers. Help that trash again and you're fired. Do you understand me? Rachel nodded, backing away quickly, but she mouthed, I'm sorry, one more time before disappearing. That's when the turbulence hit. The plane shook, the seatbelt sign dinged on, and Sophia's crying reached a pitch I'd never heard before. She was terrified, hungry, uncomfortable, and there was nothing I could do to help her. Crystal came storming down the aisle like a hurricane. Her face was red, her perfectly styled hair slightly disheveled now. "I have had it with you and your brat!" She reached my row and grabbed my diaper bag from under the seat in front of me. Before I could react, she hurled it toward the front of the plane. It hit the floor and exploded. Diapers rolled everywhere, baby clothes scattered across the aisle. Sophia's favorite toy elephant slid under someone's seat. "That's enough." I stood up, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I want to speak to the captain right now." That's when Crystal's hand flew across my face. The slap echoed through the cabin like a gunshot. My head snapped to the side. I felt her rings cut into my cheek, felt the warm trickle of blood running down toward my jaw. Sophia screamed in absolute terror. Passengers gasped and shouted. Someone yelled, "Oh my God!" But Crystal wasn't done. She grabbed a fistful of my hair and yanked hard, dragging me out of my seat. I wrapped both arms around Sophia, protecting her as this woman pulled me down the aisle by my hair. Pain shot through my scalp. Passengers were on their feet now, shouting at Crystal to stop a man. Greg, I'd later learn his name, jumped into the aisle. "Stop, you're assaulting her!" Crystal ignored him, dragging me all the way to the front of the plane. She shoved me into a jump seat near the emergency exit. My cheek was bleeding steadily now, dripping onto Sophia's blanket. Crystal pulled out a zip tie from somewhere and actually restrained my wrist to the armrest. "You're getting off this plane," she hissed in my face. "I'm requesting an emergency landing. You're done." I looked up at her, blood on my face, my baby crying in my arms, my wrist zip-tied like a criminal. And I smiled. Actually smiled. "You just ended your life?" I said quietly. "I promise you that." Crystal threw her head back and laughed. "What are you going to do? Sue me with your food stamps? Give me my phone." "Absolutely not. It's my legal right to make a phone call. You have no rights on my plane." She grabbed my phone from my pocket and threw it down the aisle. Greg caught it. Bless that man. He walked through the chaos and handed it back to me, staring Crystal down the entire time. She threatened to have armed marshals waiting for him at the gate. He didn't care. With my free hand, my other wrist still zip-tied, I calmly unlocked my phone, opened my messages, and typed to Adrian. "Crystal Martinez, Flight 427. Assaulted me and Sophia. Handle it. Now." I attached the location, Crystal's employee number that I'd memorized from her name tag, and the video file from my hidden camera that had automatically uploaded to our secure cloud send. Crystal saw me texting and leaned down, her face inches from mine. "Calling your boyfriend? Some loser who can't help you?" I looked her dead in the eye. Something like that. What Crystal didn't know was that at that exact moment, Adrian was in a board meeting at Castellano Industries. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. He never checked his phone during meetings, but he'd told his assistant that any message from me was to be treated as an emergency. He opened the message, watched the 30-second video clip, watched this blonde flight attendant slap his wife and drag her by her hair while their daughter screamed. Adrian stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "Meeting's over! Everyone out, now!" 10 people scrambled out of the conference room. Adrian was already making calls. First, his lawyer. "I need assault charges filed within the hour." Second, the CEO of Skyline Airways, a man named Paul Hendricks who'd been courting Adrian's investment for months. "Paul, this is Adrian Hawthorne. We need to talk. Right now." Third call went to every board member of Skyline Airways. "Emergency meeting. I'm accelerating the acquisition. I want controlling stake purchased within the hour." Fourth call? That one went directly to the captain of Flight 427 back on the plane. I watched Crystal's confidence start to crack. The captain had emerged from the cockpit, his face completely white. He beckoned to Crystal with one finger. She strutted toward him, chin high, probably expecting him to congratulate her on handling a difficult passenger. They disappeared behind the cockpit door. I could see them through the small window. The captain was on the phone, his hand over his mouth. Crystal was talking, gesturing toward me, clearly spinning her version of events. Then I saw the captain say something to her. Just a few words. Crystal's entire body went rigid. She shook her head violently. The captain showed her something on his phone. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Then she turned and vomited into the cockpit trash can. The captain emerged alone, his face grave. He picked up the intercom phone with a shaking hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Andrews. I need to make an unprecedented announcement." His voice cracked slightly. "I want to deeply apologize to Mrs. Alessia Castellano, wife of Adrian Hawthorne, the new majority owner of Skyline Airways." The cabin went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop at 30,000 feet. "The staff member who assaulted Mrs. Castellano is being terminated effective immediately. On behalf of Skyline Airways, we are horrified and ashamed of what has occurred on this flight. Mrs. Castellano, the entire company will be reaching out to make this right in every way possible." The silence broke into chaos. Passengers erupted in shouts, gasps, shocked conversations. Several people started chanting, "Throw her off! Throw her off!" Someone started a slow clap that built into applause. Crystal had to walk back through that cabin. She emerged from the cockpit like a ghost, all color drained from her face, mascara running. She had to walk down that aisle, past all those passengers who were now booing her, throwing napkins at her. One woman actually spat at her feet. She had to collect her things from the galley while people shouted insults, and then she had to walk past me. She fell to her knees right there in the aisle, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Please," she choked out, "please, I have student loans. My mom is sick. I'll lose everything. Please don't do this to me." I looked down at her, blood still drying on my face. Sophia finally asleep in my arms, exhausted from crying, my wrist still zip-tied to the seat because nobody had thought to cut me free yet. "You said I was trash," I said softly. "You hurt my baby. You made me bleed. You zip-tied me like an animal. Now you know what it feels like to be powerless." "I'll do anything," she wailed. "I'll apologize publicly. I'll pay you back somehow. Please just don't ruin my life." "You should have just been kind," I said. "That's all you had to do. Just be kind to a stranger. But you chose cruelty. You chose to make someone suffer because you thought they couldn't fight back. Now you get to live with that choice." Rachel came and cut the zip tie from my wrist. She helped me stand, tears in her own eyes. "I'm so sorry I didn't do more to stop her," she whispered. "You tried to help when everyone else watched," I told her. "That matters." The plane landed in Chicago 40 minutes later. Police boarded immediately, along with airline executives I'd never seen before, all of them apologizing profusely. Crystal was let off in handcuffs, still crying, her perfect makeup completely destroyed. As I walked off that plane, still holding Sophia, I saw Adrian waiting at the gate. He was surrounded by 6 security guards, keeping the growing crowd of reporters back. The second he saw me, saw the cut on my face, his jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth would crack. He wrapped his arms around both of us. "I'm so sorry," he breathed into my hair. "I'm so sorry you went through that." "Don't be sorry," I said. "You gave me the power to make sure this never happens to anyone else." The video went viral within hours. Crystal's face was everywhere. News websites, social media, trending worldwide. "Cruel flight attendant assaults mother and baby" was the headline on every major outlet. But that was just the beginning of her nightmare. Crystal Martinez was arrested and charged with assault, child endangerment, and unlawful restraint. The criminal trial took months, but with the video evidence and testimony from dozens of witnesses, she was convicted 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation. The civil lawsuit I filed against her personally was for $2 million. My lawyers argued emotional distress, physical assault, and trauma to my daughter. We won. Crystal will be paying me in monthly installments for the rest of her life. Her wages are garnished. She lost her apartment, her car was repossessed, her boyfriend left her the day after the video went viral. But here's what broke her the most. She's blacklisted, not just from Skyline Airways, but from every airline in the industry. Nobody will touch her. She's unhireable. She tried to get jobs at other companies, retail, food service, anything. But her name brings up that viral video immediately. Every potential employer sees what she did. Her parents, wealthy socialites who'd raised her to look down on poor people, publicly disowned her, released a statement calling her an embarrassment to their family name. As for Skyline Airways, Adrian did buy it, paid $300 million for controlling stake, and he immediately implemented what we now call Alessia's Law, a zero-tolerance policy for mistreating passengers based on their appearance or economic status. Every single flight attendant went through mandatory retraining. Adrian hired secret shoppers to fly on every route, reporting back on how staff treated people in cheap seats. He created a hotline where passengers could report mistreatment directly to corporate, and he meant it. In the first 6 months, 14 employees were fired for violating the new policies. Rachel, the young flight attendant who tried to help me, was promoted to head of customer relations. She now oversees all passenger complaints and trains new staff. Greg, the passenger who stood up for me, received lifetime first-class status on Skyline Airways. Adrian personally called him to say thank you, and I started a foundation, $500,000 to help traveling single mothers, providing them with resources, flight vouchers, and legal support if they're ever mistreated while flying. Crystal thought she was untouchable. She thought she could abuse people who looked weak, people who seemed powerless. She learned the hardest lesson of her life. Never underestimate someone based on how they look. I could have revealed who I was immediately. I could have flashed a business card or mentioned Adrian's name the first time she insulted me, but I wanted her to show her true colors. I wanted to see exactly how she'd treat someone she thought couldn't fight back. And Crystal showed me everything. She showed the world who she really was. Some people say what I did was cruel, that I set her up, that I ruined her life on purpose. Maybe they're right. But I think about all the other passengers Crystal humiliated before me, all the other mothers she made cry, all the other people she treated like garbage because they couldn't afford expensive seats. How many people did she hurt before she finally hurt the wrong one? I don't feel guilty. I feel like I did exactly what needed to be done. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. Subscribe because we have more insane revenge stories coming your way. Comment below karma is real if you believe what goes around comes around. Share this with someone who needs to remember that kindness costs nothing, but cruelty costs everything. I'm Alessia, and remember, be careful who you mistreat. You never know who's watching, recording, and ready to make you pay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.